She hadn't eaten in 8 days. Her body was frail, her spirit even weaker. For the first time in 40 years, the mighty Maya, the heart of the Oakland Zoo, was giving up. No one knew why. No treatment worked. No care seemed enough. Then a voice echoed through the enclosure, a voice she hadn't heard in nearly 30 years. And what happened next stunned everyone. This is the story of a bond so powerful it brought a dying elephant back to life. For more than 40 years, Maya had been the heart of the Oakland Zoo. Children laughed as they watched her playful antics, and keepers spoke of her as the most intelligent, gentle elephant they had ever known. But now that same elephant lay still, her once bright eyes dull and lifeless. Dr. Sarah Mitch, the zoo's head veterinarian, stared at Maya's medical chart for what felt like the 100th time. Her vitals are stable, but she's completely withdrawn, Sarah said quietly. It's like she's already given up. Beside her stood Tom Wheeler, the senior elephant keeper. His weathered hands trembled as he gently stroked Maya's ear. I've known her since the day she arrived in 1975, he said, his voice thick with emotion. She was scared back then too, but never like this. Tom's mind drifted back to that day long ago. Maya had been rescued from a failing circus, arriving at the zoo malnourished and covered in old makeup that stained her skin. Even then, she had been strong, resilient. But now? Now she was slipping away, and no one knew why. The team had tried everything. They brought her favorite foods, adjusted her enclosure, and monitored her health around the clock. But Maya barely moved, let alone ate. As the sun rose over the zoo, its golden light illuminating the empty paths, Tom sighed deeply. She's not just sick, he said. She's grieving. But for what? Sarah didn't have an answer. All she could do was watch and hope, even as hope seemed to fade. But deep down, Maya wasn't ready to let go. Not yet. Maya's story began decades earlier, in a failing circus in Nevada. She was just a teenager then, underweight and covered in makeup from forced performances. When the circus went bankrupt, Maya was left in limbo, trapped in a temporary holding facility for months. When she arrived at the Oakland Zoo in 1975, she was frightened and wary of everyone around her. Her trunk curled defensively, her ears drooped low, and her eyes darted nervously at every movement. Tom Wheeler was a junior keeper back then, fresh out of school. She was unlike any elephant I'd ever seen, he recalled. She didn't trust anyone, and who could blame her? But there was one person who changed everything. That person was Michael Richardson. Michael wasn't like the other keepers. While others focused on dominance and control, Michael believed in trust and patience. He spent hours with Maya every day, sitting near her enclosure, eating his lunch while reading the newspaper out loud. At first, she kept her distance, but slowly, something began to change. She started watching him, Tom said. It was subtle at first, just a flick of her ears or a glance his way. But over time, she began to trust him. Michael's efforts transformed Maya. She regained her strength, learned to trust people, and blossomed into the intelligent, gentle elephant that the zoo came to know and love. He understood her in a way no one else did, Tom said. He knew when she was having a bad day just by the way she held her trunk. He knew her favorite foods, her favorite scratches. They had a bond I'd never seen before. But in 1994, Michael retired due to health issues, and everything changed. Maya remained sweet, but something was missing. It was like she was going through the motions, Tom said. Now as Tom shared these memories with Sarah, a thought struck her. Tom, she said slowly, is Michael still alive? Tom blinked, startled. Far as I know, he's living in Sacramento with his daughter. Why? Sarah's eyes lit up. What if Michael is the answer? What if he could help? Sarah's idea seemed impossible at first. Could a man who hadn't seen Maya in decades really be the key to saving her life? Still, it was the only glimmer of hope they had. Do you have any contact information for him? Sarah asked Tom, her mind already racing through the possibilities. Tom fumbled with his old smartphone, scrolling through his contacts. I might have his daughter Rachel's number. She used to bring him to staff reunions, but I haven't seen them in years. He dialed the number, his hands shaking slightly. After a few rings, a woman's voice answered. Hello? Rachel, this is Tom Wheeler from the Oakland Zoo. I'm calling about your dad and about Maya. There was a pause on the other end. When Rachel spoke again, her voice was tinged with both surprise and concern. Maya, what's going on? Tom explained the situation, describing Maya's sudden decline and the zoo's desperate efforts to help her. Nothing's working, he said, his voice breaking. But when I told her story to Dr. Mitch, she thought maybe your dad could help. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. He'll want to see her, she finally said. I know he will. But I have to warn you, he's not the man you remember. He's 83 now in a wheelchair, and he needs oxygen. He's fragile. Do you think he'd still be willing to come? Sarah asked, leaning closer to the phone. Rachel hesitated, then sighed. When it comes to Maya, there's no question. I'll bring him tomorrow morning. The rest of the day passed in a blur of preparations. Sarah arranged for early access to the zoo and ensured that Michael's wheelchair and oxygen tank could be accommodated. Tom worked tirelessly to prepare Maya's enclosure, making sure it was safe for the reunion. As the sun set over the zoo, casting long shadows across the grounds, Sarah checked on Maya one last time. The elephant lay still in the sand, her eyes half closed. But something felt different. Her stillness wasn't the same as before. She's waiting, Sarah whispered, the thought striking her unexpectedly. She knows something is coming. The next morning, just as the first rays of sunlight lit up the sky, a van pulled up to the zoo's service entrance. Rachel stepped out first, followed by a man in a wheelchair. Michael Richardson looked nothing like the man in the old photographs Sarah had seen. He was thin and frail, his once broad shoulders now slumped with age. An oxygen tank hissed softly beside him. But when he looked up, his eyes, kind, warm, and full of life, were exactly as they had been decades ago. Let's see, my girl, he said quietly, a tear already slipping down his cheek. Michael's wheelchair moved slowly toward the elephant enclosure, his daughter Rachel pushing him with care. Sarah and Tom walked alongside them, their faces a mixture of hope and nervous anticipation. I need to warn you, Sarah said gently. Maya's condition hasn't changed much. She's very weak, and she hasn't eaten in days. She may not even recognize you. Michael nodded but didn't respond. His gaze was fixed ahead, toward the enclosure where his old friend waited. As they turned the corner, Maya came into view. She was lying in the same spot she'd been in for days, her massive frame still and lifeless. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Michael leaned forward in his wheelchair, his voice trembling but clear. Maya, he called softly. Maya, girl, it's me. The change was instantaneous. Maya's ears twitched. Her trunk shifted slightly in the sand. Slowly, her head turned toward the sound of the voice she hadn't heard in nearly 30 years. She knows him, Tom whispered, his voice choked with emotion. With great effort, Maya began to rise. Her legs shook as she pushed herself upright, her movements slow and unsteady, but she didn't stop. Inch by inch, she lifted herself off the ground until she was standing, her head held high. The sound she made, a deep, rumbling trumpet, sent shivers through everyone present. It was a sound of memory, of recognition, and of a bond that had never truly been broken. Michael extended his hand, his fingers trembling. Maya reached out with her trunk, gently touching his hand in a gesture so familiar it brought tears to every eye. That's my girl, Michael said, his voice breaking. I've missed you. Maya rumbled softly in response, her trunk lingering on his hand as if to say the same. Sarah and Tom watched in awe as the two reconnected, their silent exchange speaking louder than words. It was a moment that defied logic and reason, a testament to the unbreakable bond they shared. Would you like to go inside the enclosure? Sarah asked softly. Michael nodded, and with careful coordination, the team ensured his wheelchair was safely positioned inside. Maya moved closer, her trunk never leaving his side. For the next hour, Michael spoke to her, sharing stories of their time together. Remember when you used to help me clean up after hours? You'd pick up all the tools with your trunk, one by one, just to show off. Maya rumbled again, her eyes brighter than they had been in days. When Tom brought over a tray of her favorite fruits, Michael gently encouraged her. Come on, girl, eat a little for me. For the first time in over a week, Maya lifted a mango with her trunk. Slowly, she brought it to her mouth and took a careful bite. Michael laughed softly. That's it. Small bites, like I taught you. The crowd of staff members watching from a distance could barely contain their emotions. Maya wasn't just surviving, she was coming back to life. The transformation in Maya was nothing short of miraculous. Under Michael's steady presence, the once lifeless elephant began to show signs of the vitality she was known for. It started with small movements, her trunk brushing against his hand, her ears flicking in recognition. But then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Maya began to eat. Michael watched as she carefully picked up a mango with her trunk and took a small bite. That's my girl, he said, his voice filled with pride. Slow and steady, just like you always used to. Tom stood nearby, stunned. She hasn't touched food in over a week, he whispered to Sarah. Maya continued eating, taking her time with each bite. Over the next hour, she consumed more food than she had in days. But it wasn't just the eating that amazed the staff. It was her demeanor. Her once dull eyes now sparkled with life. She began to look around her enclosure, taking interest in her surroundings. She flapped her ears, a familiar gesture of comfort, and even reached for one of her enrichment toys, a large rubber ball that had long been ignored. She's coming back to us, Sarah said, tears welling in her eyes. Michael remained by her side, talking to her softly. Remember those summer evenings? We'd stay late, and you'd pick up all the tools for me. You always wanted to help. Maya rumbled in response, a deep, soothing sound that seemed to echo her contentment. The impact on Michael was just as profound. Rachel, watching from a distance, couldn't hold back her tears. I haven't seen him this alive in years, she said. It's like being here with her is giving him life too. The bond between them was undeniable. Maya rarely let her trunk leave Michael's side, constantly reaching out to touch him, as if making sure he was real. And Michael, despite his frail condition, seemed to regain strength with every passing moment. By the end of the day, Maya was standing tall, her movements more deliberate and purposeful. She interacted with her herd for the first time in days, gently nudging a younger elephant with her trunk as if to reassure them. She's not just recovering, Tom said in awe. She's thriving. The day ended with a quiet moment between Maya and Michael. As the sun set over the enclosure, casting a warm golden glow, Maya rested her trunk gently on Michael's shoulder. The gesture was simple yet profound, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had saved her life. For the first time in days, hope returned to the Oakland Zoo. Word of Maya's miraculous recovery spread quickly through the zoo, inspiring awe among the staff and visitors. What had started as a desperate attempt to save one elephant had turned into a powerful story of love, memory, and healing. Dr. Sarah Mitch led the veterinary team in documenting every aspect of Maya's transformation. Her stress hormone levels had plummeted, her appetite had returned, and her weight was steadily climbing. But the most intriguing change couldn't be measured with medical tools. It was the light in Maya's eyes, the energy in her movements, and the unmistakable joy in her interactions with Michael. This isn't just about physical recovery, Sarah explained. This is about the power of emotional connection. Researchers at UC Berkeley heard about the story and reached out to the zoo. Together, they launched a study to explore how bonds between humans and animals could influence health and behavior. Maya's case became the centerpiece of their research. The findings were extraordinary. Maya's recovery wasn't just an emotional story, it was a scientific breakthrough. Her improved health coincided directly with Michael's presence, a phenomenon the researchers dubbed the Richardson effect. As more stories surfaced from other zoos and sanctuaries, the implications became clear. Emotional well-being was just as critical to animals as physical care. Beyond the science, Maya and Michael's story touched hearts far and wide. News outlets picked up the tale, and soon it was being shared across social media. Letters and messages poured into the zoo, many from people moved by the depth of Maya's bond with Michael. One letter from a young girl in Michigan captured the spirit of the story perfectly. My grandpa has Alzheimer's, and sometimes he forgets who I am. But when I play his favorite songs, he smiles like he remembers everything. I think Maya and Michael are the same. They show us that love doesn't need words, just hearts. Inspired by the story, the zoo launched new educational programs to share Maya's journey with visitors. School groups listened in awe as guides explained how elephants, like humans, form deep emotional connections. Maya and Michael's story wasn't just a reunion, It was a movement. As Maya's strength returned, her recovery began to ripple through her herd. Once withdrawn and disconnected, she now stood proudly among the other elephants, her presence commanding the respect of a true matriarch. One of the most remarkable moments came with the introduction of Luna, a young elephant recently rescued from a closing zoo. Luna was timid and hesitant, often keeping to herself and avoiding the others. The keepers worried she might never fully integrate into the herd. But Maya seemed to sense Luna's fear. She approached the young elephant slowly, her movements calm and deliberate. Standing protectively between Luna and the rest of the herd, Maya offered gentle nudges of encouragement with her trunk. She even mimicked the techniques Michael had once used with her, providing reassurance through patient gestures and soft vocalizations. Over the next few weeks, Luna's behavior transformed. She began to follow Maya closely, mirroring her movements and learning to trust her new environment. For the first time, Luna joined in enrichment activities, playing with toys and interacting with the other elephants. "She's teaching them," Tom said one afternoon, watching Maya guide Luna through her first interaction with the herd. "She's using everything Michael taught her and passing it on. It's like she's become his legacy." The keepers began documenting what they called the Maya method, a unique approach to herd integration. Maya's system of gradual introductions, emotional support, and gentle guidance was far more successful than traditional methods. Her influence extended beyond her immediate herd, inspiring new practices at zoos and sanctuaries worldwide. But Maya's impact didn't stop with her fellow elephants. Her story inspired people too. Visitors flocked to the Oakland Zoo to hear about her miraculous recovery. Many left deeply moved by the power of her bond with Michael and the lessons it taught about trust, compassion, and resilience. The zoo also launched the Maya Project, an initiative dedicated to studying long-term bonds between animals and caregivers. Researchers worked to better understand how emotional connections could improve the well-being of animals in human care. "Maya isn't just a matriarch," Sarah said during a meeting with project leaders. "She's a symbol of what's possible when we recognize the emotional depth of animals and treat them with the care they deserve." Through her actions, Maya showed the world that love and understanding could transcend species and even heal wounds thought impossible to men. Maya's 60th birthday was a celebration like no other. What had once seemed an impossible milestone was now a testament to the power of love and connection. Visitors from across the country gathered at the Oakland Zoo for the event. The day was filled with special enrichment activities for the elephants, from enormous frozen fruit treats to interactive toys that the younger herd members eagerly explored. But the highlight of the celebration was Maya and Michael's reunion in front of the crowd. Michael, now visibly stronger thanks to months of physical therapy, stood proudly beside Maya as they performed their old tricks together. With a simple hand gesture from Michael, Maya picked up objects with her trunk and handed them back to him, just as she had done decades ago. She even trumpeted playfully in response to his cues, drawing laughter and applause from the audience. Rachel, who had been documenting their journey from the beginning, premiered a short documentary about Maya's story during the event. The crowd watched in awe as footage of Maya's decline, her reunion with Michael, and her incredible recovery played on a large screen. By the end, many were in tears. During the celebration, Maya received letters and drawings from children across the country. One especially poignant letter, read aloud by Rachel, captured everyone's hearts. "Dear Maya, you've shown the world that love never forgets. Thank you for teaching us how to care for each other." The event ended with a quiet moment between Maya and Michael. As the sun set, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink, Maya gently rested her trunk on Michael's shoulder. It was a simple gesture, but one that spoke volumes about their unbreakable bond. "What they've shown us," Sarah said, addressing the crowd, "is that love and connection can heal even the deepest wounds." Maya and Michael's story isn't just about an elephant and her keeper. It's about all of us. Maya and Michael's story is more than just a tale of reunion. It's a powerful reminder of the unbreakable bonds that can exist between humans and animals. Their journey challenged long-held beliefs about animals, proving that love, trust, and connection are just as essential to their well-being as food and medical care. Maya's transformation showed the world that healing is possible when we honor these bonds, and her story has become a symbol of hope for people everywhere. The Maya Project, born from their incredible journey, continues to explore the impact of emotional connections in animal care, ensuring that Maya's legacy will inspire compassion and innovation for generations to come. For Michael, his time with Maya gave him a renewed sense of purpose. "She brought me back to life just as much as I brought her back," he said. "Sometimes love doesn't fade. Sometimes it just waits." And for Maya, her journey is a testament to the healing power of connection. Even in her golden years, she continues to inspire, teaching us all that it's never too late to care, to connect, and to heal. Their story is a powerful reminder. Sometimes all it takes is a familiar voice to bring us back to life.